So there we are, arrived in a bay called Bahia Yendigaya in southern Chile last night. It was quite windy yesterday when we got here, but now it's calm, at least here in the bay. We are currently waiting actually for better weather before we can head south to Antarctica. And the last few days we've been going, well, we left Argentina and we checked into Chile, and last night came here with quite a bit of wind, snow overnight, the mountains became whiter, and the last few days I've been recording some videos which I've pasted together and I will talk through now. On the last day of our stay in Ushuaia, it was still very windy. In fact, so much so that the port was closed to incoming and outgoing traffic. Nevertheless, conditions can and do change quickly here, and the wind, which I would say was violent at times, gave way to a complete calm overnight and into the following morning. The silence after the storm is one of the pleasures during any outdoor activity, and perhaps especially so when on the water. Another pleasure was getting to meet in person Mr. Skip Novak, one of the greats in the sailing world. Having participated in multiple Whitbread around the world races, including skippering Simon Le Bon's Maxi Drum, he now leads pelagic expeditions which owns a number of specially designed and equipped sailing yachts to explore the Antarctic. I always liked very much to read his articles in various yachting magazines. And then, having checked out of Argentina at the local customs office, we were off. We gently reversed out of our berth, allowing the yacht on the outside of us to take our place, and set a course easterly along the Beagle Channel. Now I haven't sailed yet on Firebird, but moving along at a steady 7 knots on the engine is already very pleasant. The engine sits deep inside Firebird, and is of a size where at 1000 RPM a reasonable boat speed is already achieved. The engine is in fact hardly audible and is a far cry from the motoring experience on my own X442, which I might also refer to as my X, which is a noisy experience. Now on leaving Ushuaia, it is mandatory for all boats, in any case the bigger boats, to have a pilot on board. And so also in our case. Here we were done with the pilot and he made his way back onto his own launch to go back to the harbour from where we came. Unfortunately, the engine did develop a small problem after our departure from Ushuaia, requiring a brief shutdown of the engine, and so we dropped anchor to carry out the necessary repair. One is never far away from repairing something on a sailing boat. But with all the required skills on board, the engine was soon enough humming along nicely again, and we made our way to Puerto Williams in Chile, where we anchored for the night. The dawn, followed by sunrise the next morning, was stunning. The first task we had to complete was to check in to Chile, both ourselves as well as the boat. And this is where the tender comes into her own, becoming the workhorse, shuttling people to and from shore. We were required to check in Chile to be able to use Chilean waters, which is somewhat inevitable when sailing south, Cape Horn and all the rest, including the surrounding waters, being part of Chile. Puerto Williams is a very small settlement on the shores of the Beagle Channel on the northern side of an island called Isla Navarino. And the plan was to hike across this island to a bay on the southern shore where Firebird would then pick us up. But the weather wasn't cooperating, with a harsh southerly wind forecasted, making a successful pickup from the beach in the south a highly questionable undertaking. So it was decided to embark on 2 hikes of a couple of hours each on the day of the check-in and the next. The theme of the first hike was a climb up to 2 local peaks across very rocky, barren terrain. The ascent started along an easy, well-marked path through the forest at lower altitudes, but that then gave way to the rocky landscape I mentioned just now. Here, in the absence of a path, the hike was, let's say, more freestyle, being able to see the destination and then walking in roughly the right direction. But even so, since the terrain consisted entirely of loose gravel, any inclination in excess of 45 degrees made walking tricky, at least for me. My 3 companions didn't have much of a problem with the terrain, all 3 being mountaineering pros, and they're all from Italy, so I might even pick up a few words in Italian. So far I'm happy, in any case with my hiking boots. They are very solid, but I'm somewhat worried about the jacket I have with me, which may not be sufficiently waterproof. So I may have to speak nicely to the crew of Firebird to see if there is any spare available. Otherwise, this first hike was very pleasant, and I picked up some important insights for subsequent trips. To bring at least 2 liters of water instead of my 1 liter, and to take snacks. I had none. But also, and super importantly, to adjust the pace when needed. I rushed a little bit on the descent and almost twisted my ankle when a large stone moved just as I was putting my weight on it. All the same, we made it back to the pickup point in Puerto Williams, where the tender and her driver were kindly waiting to ferry us back to the mothership. And there I made the foolhardy, yet glorious decision to go for a swim in the 10 degrees water. That, in addition to the hike and an excellent dinner, meant I slept extremely well. The next day brought a completely different type of hike, which led entirely through woodlands, along a river with numerous waterfalls, up to a small lake. This is therefore a story from the stream, for which there exists an elegant Gaelic word, Struana, which is also the name of my X442, patiently awaiting my return in Genoa. This hike was quite difficult. There was a trail, but it wasn't always obvious where it led. And so at times we were making our way through raw forest, climbing across fallen trees and taking care not to step into the wetter bits of the marshy ground. My ankle was luckily functioning fine, but I was very sure not to make any, let's say, footwork mistakes. And I was wearing proper gloves, so that my hands could help out a bit too. And then we're off again, on Firebird, heading west into the Beagle Channel. It was not the time yet to head south. A strong weather system was passing through the Drake Passage, the body of water south of Cape Horn, meaning high seas and strong winds. So we made our way back west and anchored in Baja Yendigaya. Before anchoring, however, we were treated to a spectacular formation in the heavens, which I'm now reliably informed by a Firebird crew is called a lenticular cloud. They are stationary, lens-shaped clouds that form primarily over mountains, known for looking like UFOs. yeah, so that was that. Arrived quite well last night. Good night's sleep, and there we are. Bahia Vendigaya. Looking forward to seeing what's going to happen next.